Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today is day 84 of switching from Nvidia to AMD. So let's talk about this. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Um, this has been an interesting journey. Started out with, the 3080, switched on over to the AMD card. I wanted more power. I didn't want to have to pay for here's the thing, man. I didn't want to have to rebuild the whole PC to put like a bigger PSU in there to like get like the three. I needed three freaking 8 pins. Okay, this all started because I needed three 8 pins. That left me with a choice of either a 4070 or or go with the AMD to get more power. That was my choice. I didn't want to have to rebuild the whole PC. I ended up having to rebuild the whole PC just because of the 7900 XT that I bought. I bought the XFX version, which is a lot longer, narrower card, which to this day, 84 days later, has been nothing but exceptional. This thing is a monster compared to the 3080 that I had. I get better performance all around. And just the overall ray tracing quality that I get from the 7900 XT is pretty impressive. It's pretty dang impressive. Now, we've been told multiple times by the Nvidia bros the AMD drivers are garbage. We've been told that they pay people to spread goodness about their cards. We've been told that we can't do path tracing. We've been told that we can't do ray tracing good enough to actually give us a playable experience with the AMD cards. We've been told that FSR2 is garbage and it's blurry and blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, we've got people out there right now, including Digital Foundry and other prominent YouTube channels that have been singing the praises of DLSS and ray tracing for so long that now they're all saying all of that stuff they've been saying about DLSS and ray tracing is basically, oh man, it was terrible. But now we got 3.5 DLSS to make it even better. So let's rewind a second. Let's get this straight. Nvidia creates ray tracing. Okay, it doesn't perform that good on the 20 series cards. They bring out DLSS to try to help it. DLSS 1 wasn't really that magical and wasn't really that great. So then they came out with, DLSS 2. And now all of a sudden you get better frame rates, but your ray tracing is still broken because of the denoisers. The DLSS just can't make them look not fuzzy. So now you got ray tracing, but it's fuzzy ray tracing, but everybody's telling us that, oh yeah, this looks amazing. From the day ray tracing started coming to our games, I've always been like, yeah, dude, the ray tracing reflections don't really look that great. I mean, it looks cool when you're standing still. The shadowing looked great. The lighting looked freaking awesome. So I mean, that was added benefits of the overall like ray tracing, but they're not as noticeable as you would think. Like they're just not. Like you literally have to be looking really closely and having it pointed out for it to really make a difference for you to understand that like oh yeah, this ray tracing does make a difference. So in comes DLSS 3.5 and it sharpens up the ray tracing, but only if you use it in path tracing for the one game that's out right now, which is Cyberpunk 2077. So let me get this straight, guys. You can count on one hand the games that literally you can literally count on one finger the games that take advantage of this technology right now, today, to benefit you in any way, and that is Cyberpunk 2077. But what if you're playing Hogwarts Legacy and you want to flick on DLSS 3.5? Oh, sad face, it doesn't work because it doesn't have path tracing. It's only one game. You can count on one finger how many games that you can actually use this DLSS 3.5. Will it come to other games? Yeah, of course. Just like FSR and all of these other AMD technologies are eventually going to come to your games. Thankfully, developers are still doing the work to put in to make these games look good still without having to use this magic, or everybody would be upset. There's a trade-off. There's a trade-off. If you got gamers out there, we all seen it with Remnant 2. Oh man, this game's designed to work with upscalers. Man, what do you guys want, dude? Do you want your DLSS and your FSR and all your upscalers and all your little cherries on the top? Well, unfortunately, if you want them to push the visuals and the graphics and stuff, you're going to have to do that. They're going to have to do that eventually. But if you take a step back and you think about this, when you go AMD, you are going to get a more consistent experience across the board. Now, when I bought my card, I had the choice of a 7900 XT or a 7900 XTX. If I would have known I was going to be rebuilding this whole PC, I would have bought I probably would have bought the 7900 XTX. I probably actually, to be completely honest with you, I probably would have kept believing in the Nvidia magic, and I probably would have had a 4080 or maybe even a 4090, depending on how things would have worked out. Like I was that close to continuing to be on the hamster wheel of Nvidia, chasing these one games. I mean, to this day, you can go back and you can literally count on one hand how many games are actually exceptional, above what AMD can do with ray tracing on the Nvidia cards, man. Like a handful of them. The handful that they always go back to. Cyberpunk. What's the other one? Dying Light 2. Control from Remedy. That's 3. What else did they go back to? Oh yeah, not many other, because there's really not that big of a difference because the ray tracing isn't as pronounced in some of these other games. So they don't matter. They don't matter. Oh, what are they going to do? Go back to Quake 2? No, I mean Portal? Like whatever. So you got like a handful of games. You have a handful of games. When I jump on any of these other games that have ray tracing, like Gotham Knights, dang, I get a way good playable frame rate at 4K, and it looks incredible on my AMD graphics card. When I look at Resident Evil 4, oh my gosh, I actually get better performance. Go figure. It's designed for AMD, and it works, and it runs great, and it's got ray tracing, but nobody talks about that game. None of these guys talk about that. Why? Because it doesn't make their Nvidia graphics card look better. The coverage is so selective when it comes to this stuff. I get that Nvidia's, trying to push this tech, and I get that there's other gamers out there. I'm not going to say they're paid shills. I'm just going to say that maybe they really do love and appreciate ray tracing so much that they're just like, yeah, man, we want more people to take care of it. But the only reason I say that's a lie is because when I'm sitting here playing Cyberpunk 2077 with path tracing above 30 frames a second, I do have to use the magic of the AMD stack with FSR, and I do have to use performance or ultra performance. If I put it in performance, I still get 30 frames a second, but if I put it in ultra performance, I get up to 50 frames a second. So that kind of just makes it a little bit more to like, yeah, dude, I'm just going to use this. If I put it on 1440p and I crank it, then I can get over to 60 frames a second. You see where I'm going with this? I can utilize path tracing with magic on my AMD graphics card, which wasn't even supposed to happen. But if these other content creators were concerned and really wanted ray tracing to catch on and move forward, they would be giving AMD products the same coverage, the same, like, hey man, these can do it too. They would be propping that up as well. But they're not. So that can only tell you one thing, that they are 100% pushing Nvidia graphics cards as a way to continue to make money, because that's what gets them views. Whereas that's how they market this thing. You listen to every one of them, man. When they come out and they talk about these cards and what they can do, they're always like, oh yeah. It's funny when they review the AMD products. They're always trying to be like, well, yeah, but those 3 games, Cyberpunk, Control, and Dying Light 2, these 3 games are going to get you better performance on the Nvidia graphics card. Those games are basically ancient. Cyberpunk does have a new Phantom Liberty DLC coming out here in just a couple more days, but Control Remedy doesn't. like Control doesn't have a they don't have an update coming out. Dying Light 2, I guess they are still technically working on that, but you don't. But see what I'm saying is these are older games. These are older games trying to showcase a feature for a card that brought out the feature that's now finally, after 3 generations, getting it to a point where it doesn't look blurry and fuzzy and look all checkerboardy. There you go. And you can go back and you can watch my content all the way back from PlayStation calling out checkerboard rendering. I'm not any new to this. I'm just like the overabundance of this technology being used is breaking me down. Like it's breaking me down to the point where it's like, okay, man, you can utilize it. How bad does it really look? What do you want? Do you want to play at 4K? Do you want to have this? Do you want to have that? Like, what is the end goal of what's going to get you to a playable experience with good visuals that are going to be okay for you? That's basically where you're at with any of these graphics cards now. You can go with Nvidia, you can go with AMD, it doesn't matter. How are you going to set up your experience to get the best image quality possible for you and for your liking and what you like? Because I could sit here and tell you all day that fuzzy ray tracing looks good to me because I've accepted it. It's up to you to decide if fuzzy ray tracing looks good to you, or if, you know, DLSS 3 in one game can almost get it done is worth it to you to spend that much money. I was watching benchmarks on the 4080. With native 4K, with path tracing, that card delivers about 15 frames a second. My card, that's much cheaper, delivers about 7 frames a second. And then you can, every single slide of our FSR will double that until you get up to a playable frame rate. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it doesn't even matter. At 4K, once you switch on quality DLSS, you are now effectively playing at 1440p. It drops the resolution and upscales the image. If you go to balance, that's dropping you down even lower until you get to performance, which is like 1080p. You're essentially playing at 1080p and then having it upscale to 4K. And that's the thing, man. Nobody wants to talk about the actual resolutions that you're really playing at. I've seen like the Xbox Series S with a 1080p game running on my LG TV, and letting my TV upscale it, looking just as good as any of these performance, like performance or ultra performance like FSR, any of that, making the image quality look even just a little bit better because the TV's in like upscaling it and getting rid of all the jaggies and stuff. I've seen this with my own eyes. I've been talking about this on this channel for a long time. So when I see a game at like ultra performance on the TV and I'm like, wow, man, that definitely looks as good or better than what the Series S looks like. I still think the Xbox Series S is a very impressive machine. Like, it's impressive. I think my ROG Ally is absolutely impressive. I put out 2 videos last night of playing a set of Corsa Competizione on it, and it was playable, and it looked good, and it was doable. It matched or exceeded the quality of the Xbox Series S version. That to me is impressive. When I look at my 7900 XT and I look at my ROG Ally and I'm like, gosh dang, if I would have just got a 4090 and neither of those, that's the cost of a 4090, my friends. I've got a whole nother PC that is actually pretty dang cool. Like, this is cool. I'm actually happy. I've been playing on this a lot. I've been utilizing this a lot to check this out and to make content for it. Whereas my 7900 XT, why would I waste all that extra money? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you look at the performance of the 4090, the new Monster Masterclass GPU, and it still has limitations. Why? Because it's not even on the whole freaking die. Like, it's not even the full kit and caboodle that the Nvidia team could have made. They could have made you a powerhouse GPU for the same price. For the same price. with all your little magic and all of that stuff. But if you look at the whole Nvidia stack, they've been cut back. They've been cut back. You've got lower bus rates on every single version of those cards, except for the 4080 and the 4090. And then you have restrictive VRAM limitations still with your 70 series cards. They should be at 16 gigs. The AMD cards are at 16 gigs. The lower end, the top end 1080p entry level 1440p card does still have a 12 gigabyte buffer for the AMD cards. So I don't know, man. I don't know if 1440p is your resolution. That is where I see both of these. That's where I see both of these graphics card makers really shooting for, because 1440p is still very prominent, and people are starting to move up from 1080p into 1440p. So yeah, if the 7800 XT, and here's the kicker. Longtime supporter of the channel, sent me a video trying to convince me that that like the price difference between the 7800 XT and the 7900 XT was bad for me. No, man, that's not bad for me. Like when my card was out, that was my option. 7800 XT comes out. That card is packing a freaking punch. Like it's nipping at the heels of my 7900 XT. For $500, I can comfortably recommend a 7800 XT after seeing the benchmarks that I've seen from that card. That's a good card. That is a solid 1440p contender. You should be happy with that card, 1440p, and being able to actually utilize that to play some games at 4K. I think that's an amazing card. I couldn't recommend you the 79 or the 49 or the 4070 Ti. I definitely couldn't recommend you a 4070 over a 7800 XT. Like, what are your options, man? Do you want a card that's going to be good, that's actually maybe worth the $500 that you're paying for it? Or do you want a card that's going to give you magic, and it might work on some games and it might not, but it will work on one game right now. It will work on Cyberpunk, and that's all that matters, because Cyberpunk has a new update out. So yeah, I would definitely, I don't know. After seeing the stuff that I've seen over the last 84 days with my 7900 XT, compared to the experience that I had with the 3080 and the 3060 Ti, oh man, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm so conflicted, because everybody swears up and down that Nvidia is the best and AMD has trash drivers, and the AMD pays content creators to talk about their thing, and they've got like really good marketing, and all they've got to do is sell you a card one time, and you'll never be happy, and you'll go back to Nvidia, or like did I say the buggy drivers? The buggy drivers, or you can't use ray tracing, or you can't use DLSS, or you can't use path tracing, because none of that stuff is good on the AMD card. All of that crap, seriously guys, all of that is nonsense. Complete nonsense. You're going to have bugs and glitches on any PC that you go for. Like, it's going to happen eventually. You're going to run into something that's going to take you a minute to figure out. It's not going to be as ideal, and the grass isn't greener. I wouldn't even say the grass is greener on the other side. Like, if you're an Nvidia guy and you like Nvidia and you're cool with that, whatever, dude. The grass isn't like greener over here on the AMD side. There are things that you're going to leave on the table to go with AMD, just like there would be things that on AMD. Like, if you're an AMD fan and you want to go Nvidia, either way, you're leaving something on the table. Just for reference, if you leave Nvidia and you come to AMD, you are leaving DLSS on the floor. You're not leaving ray tracing on the table. I thought that was the case. You're not. You're not leaving ray tracing on the table. You can still utilize ray tracing, and when games are built for AMD with ray tracing, they run incredibly. So you're not leaving ray tracing on the table, but you are leaving DLSS on the table. DLSS is a superior, upscaling technology right now. It is. There's no question about that. If you look at a game side by side, you are going to have just a little bit better You're going to have a little bit better image quality with DLSS, but that gap is closing. The newer games that are coming out that are fully utilizing FSR2 look absolutely incredible, especially in the quality mode. Quality looks incredible, balance looks great. I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 with path tracing on a 4K screen utilizing the FSR ultra quality mode, and it looks very, very good. Now, my TV obviously has an upscaler. I was looking back on it on my monitor too, because the other day I said that my TV made it look better, and it does in some ways. It kind of just like smooths out the image quality a little bit better. When I'm playing on the 1440p monitor, you can kind of see like a little bit more like I don't know. I wasn't even in the same spot when I was saying that. Maybe if I go back to the same spot on the 4K, it'll give me the same image quality there. It was just feeling like it might have been a little bit different, but the fact of the matter is that on a 4K screen, I was getting good image quality utilizing that. I mean, I'm pretty sure that if you're going for a 7900 XT or above, you're probably going for that with a 4K screen. So you're probably going to have a fairly decent upscaler in your TV or your monitor. Your monitor is going to have a tighter pixel density, so it's probably going to be okay. But the fact of the matter is that gap that you're leaving on the table from going from Nvidia to AMD, that's closing. That is closing. The things that you'd be leaving on the table going from AMD to Nvidia, you're going to give up Adrenaline software. And that to me is the biggest thing that I love about AMD. Like that one there is like, yeah, dude, there's no reason for me to go back over to Nvidia and play around with all that garbage. AMD software is working fantastically for me. I love it. I love being able to get in there and utilize everything. I love being able to pull it up on the screen and utilize stuff while I'm in game, checking to see if I got HyperRX and all that engaged. That's cool. That is good to me. That is more important to me than freaking a little bit better image quality with DLSS. Like it really is. Like I'm so used to checkerboard rendering and all of that coming from the Xbox and the PlayStation over to PC that I can live with that. I can live with a little bit. I can live with a little bit less image quality to get a higher frame rate than I can live without. Then I cannot live without my software. That software is a lot more. I thought I was going to struggle with not having NVIDIA broadcast, but oh boy, man, I'm having a much better time, a much better experience with the AMD graphics cards all around. And my experience with gaming, because that's what it all is to me. Like I'm 100% gamer first, tech tuber, all of that stuff is second to me being a gamer. The gaming experience is what matters to me the most. The fact that I've had more consistent day one launches that are not a stutter fest on my AMD graphics card definitely makes this experience better for me. It does. Now, I mean, like I said, you know, everybody's results are going to vary, especially with PC, with you building your own stuff, with you having a pre-built. Your mileage is going to vary. You're going to run into things that I will never run into, and I'm going to run into things that you will never run into. You might have bought, and you know, you might have the exact same setup, and you buy a game and it stutters and mine doesn't. I guess there's like, what do they attribute that to in the PC space? What was it called? What was it? Something about Silicon Lottery or something. You hear that a lot too. I listen to the subliminal messaging when these guys are talking. When these guys are trying to sell you their product, or they're reviewing their product, or they're making excuses for their products, because we all do that. Like I make excuses for the products I love too, because they're things that I can overlook and be okay with. But you never know how somebody's going to react to that when they're watching your content and when they see what you're doing, and they like you as a person. So, or they don't like you, so they're not going to be in tune to what you're saying, or when you're making excuses for your product. I'm not trying to make excuses for AMD. Like, you will get an AMD experience if you buy an AMD graphics card. You will get an Nvidia experience if you buy an Nvidia graphics card. That's all there is to it. If you're into like production and stuff like that, I'm not into production, so I'm not going to review that part of the graphics card. I'm purely for gaming. I'm reviewing. I'm reviewing the Nvidia experience on my gaming experience, and like uploading content and using my preferred editor. They're almost identical. Almost identical. They both render just as fast. They both create the image. I have to wait for it to render on both GPUs. You know, while I'm reviewing 4K, while I'm reviewing 4K video. So, yeah, like it's apples to apples, or it's apples to oranges. It's really not that big of a difference. The guys that are trying to convince you the hardest the AMD is or the Nvidia is the best, those are the guys that are 100% still starstruck, and they've probably not even tried AMD. They're just so comfortable with their Nvidia experience, and I kind of feel like it's more like an addiction to the oh my gosh, like the tech craze. Like, I get it, man. I suffer from that a lot too, but I think that's more of the hype surrounding what Nvidia has to offer is the tech. The tech hype, the hype of like being in the, yeah, man, I'm part of the freaking A team or whatever. but what can I say, man? I like welfare products, and I love bad games. So if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, man. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you made it this far. We'll see you guys in the next one. Hit me with them comments. Let's hear what you got to say.